Barnaby Phillips is a veteran journalist with Al Jazeera and a remarkable historian. He has written a fascinating book titled Another Man's War. In this book, Phillips set out to rescue the memory of British African soldiers who served in World War II, most particularly in Burma. He tells his story through the experiences of the Nigerian Isaac Fadoyebo. The book has received rave reviews. Phillips had a book reading program at Quintessence Bookshop, Ikoyi, Lagos. We were there to listen to him and experience his book. Another Man's War captures such an intriguing story that we are looking forward to visiting the Fadoyebo family and getting their views on the subject. We hope to show you how that goes sometime soon. Meanwhile, please enjoy clips from the book reading at Quintessence.
And we start at the beginning. It is December 1941, and we are in the town of Owo, which is in Ondo State today. Then, I think, Ondo Province, probably. Isaac Fadoyebo's journey to the Burmese jungle began here, by the gates of the palace of the Olowo. An olive green army lorry groaned and slid up the sandy streets to the meeting place under the palace walls, in the small hilltop town of Owo, in the British colony and protectorate of Nigeria. Market women, squatting on the ground beside their little piles of beans or soap or palm oil or black coils of smoked fish, looked up. An excited crowd gathered and swelled around the vehicle. From a gramophone came the distant, tinny voice of Winston Churchill. Everybody in Owo knew about the war. For 2 years now, they'd seen posters all over town. Some depicted stern and merciless German soldiers shooting a group of defenseless Africans lined up against a wall. Others showed the same Germans wearing big black boots, whipping the Africans who laboured for them. The Germans displayed no emotion, but the Africans were depicted as terrified. Hitler has already said that all Africans must be slaves for Germans, the posters screamed in red letters. People had looked at these posters in morbid fascination. It was true that everyone now called it Hitler's war, that the Nazis were wicked people, and that Hitler was behaving like a wild beast was beyond dispute. Well, almost. One woman in the market had been overheard saying that this Hitler must be a real man if all of Europe was so afraid of him. The woman was shouted down. Not only at the market, but also at church, most people agreed that if Britain fell to this man Hitler, they would come under German control, and that would be a bad thing. Some even argued that what Hitler really wanted was Nigeria itself. They said he knows all about our gold, our precious stones, our cocoa, our groundnuts, and now he wants to take them. This seemed to fit with another rumour that a trader had heard in Lagos, that their Majesties, the King and Queen, had fled there from London and were now living in Government House. They went for short walks along the marina after dark, apparently, taking some care not to be recognised. It was hard to know what to make of it all. But on this December day, a smartly dressed man took up his position by the Olowo's palace and began his speech. He was talking about what Hitler might do to Africans, but that wasn't all. He was urging the men who gathered round him to sign up and fight, not just for Owo, but for Nigeria, the British Empire, and King George. At that moment, someone in the crowd cheered, and Isaac's curiosity got the better of him. He was barely 16, but he was an imposing boy, already almost 6 feet tall, and he knew his own mind. He pushed his way through, closer to the lorry, so he could better hear what the recruiting officer was saying. We'll now leap forward to the middle of 1943. Isaac has signed up. It is the early hours of the 10th of July, 1943. Allied landing craft ploughed through heavy seas towards the beaches of Sicily. In the skies above, American paratroopers and British gliders from the 8th Army were blown badly off course by strong winds. Many landed miles away from their intended destinations. But for all the confusion, the Allied invasion of Italy had begun, and the initial resistance by German and Italian troops was not as fierce as Eisenhower had feared. That very same morning, in Lagos Harbour, another chapter of the Second World War was opening. It was a damp grey day, and a convoy of 6 troop ships and 4 destroyers cut through the leaden waters of the lagoon and out towards the sea. The men on the troop ships would not take part in the war against fascism in Europe, but the one to defend the British Empire in Asia. They were the very first West African troops to set sail for Burma. As Isaac and his colleagues sailed that Saturday, there were no military bands on the Apapa docks playing jaunty tunes, no reporters or photographers to capture the scene, no cheering crowds waving little Junior Jacks. They were slipping out, unannounced, uncelebrated, after a couple of nights in a transit camp by a swamp on the edge of the city.
When my father just died, Barnaby, the writer, came for the funeral, and we became quite close family friends. So we actually knew that he was going to write a book before he started writing the book. I know he took time off his work, unpaid leave, to write the book. I feel, well, very grateful, flattered, sorry that my dad is not here to know about the book and to know that the book had been written on him. I know that he will have been very excited about it because the documentary gave him a lot of excitement in his last years. He did.
It feels good being here today because, this book by Barnaby Phillips is actually the climax of the things that Isaac himself had wanted to do. Isaac wrote a book himself about his experience in the war, and of course that was how Barnaby got to know about him and all that. Now, Barnaby's book actually provides a balance that Isaac's book probably did not have. Isaac was a young chap who had gone to war, and Barnaby looks at it in a global perspective, how the role of the black Africans in that war, and then what it meant to a black young boy who was going to war fighting for the Queen, and then was coming back to Nigeria to build a life of his. And that story was just quiet for 60, 70 years, and Barnaby has brought it back to life and has added a lot of vigor to it. It's a nostalgic feel for a whole lot of us who know that Grandpa always wanted to talk about his times in the war. He had scars, he had mental and physical scars. He had a limp all through his life. And this year marks the 2nd anniversary of his death, and what a more beautiful way than to honor him and pay tributes to him with this lovely book by Barnaby.
Well, I very much hope that Isaac's family feel that I've done justice to his story. He was a remarkable man, and I like to think that he became a close friend of mine in the short time that I knew him. As I said in my talk here, I was very touched that Isaac's family did not try and interfere or influence my writing in any way, but freely supplied me with information, and I think that shows a remarkable generosity of spirit. I hope I've done justice to it. Maybe they won't agree with everything I've said. Ultimately, I had to interpret and deduce things in my own way. Maybe Isaac wouldn't have agreed with everything I interpreted about his life, but I would hope that his family and he, if he were still with us, would recognize that I had acted in good faith at all times.
Our book of the week is Dear Koye Oyeyinka's Stillborn, narrated from the point of view of Shehu, an orphan from the Niger Delta in the south-south region of Nigeria. It is not only a tale of tragedy, desperation, and despair, but also one of optimism and opportunity. It describes the dynamics of the various political epochs that have shaped Nigeria, and by extension, Africa in general. Please get yourself a copy, read it, and let us know what you think about it. I hope you have enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget you can always join us on any of our social media platforms displayed on your screen. My name is Olakunle Kasumo. Remember, one great book can change your life. Bye-bye.